Hello everybody, Aaron Moss here. So about a month ago I got a text message from one of my friends up in Idaho who recently picked up a set of concert toms, Ludwig style, with the old style mount is what he needs. And these are, really hard to find, and when you do find them, they're real expensive. And he asked me if I ever got around to it to make him a set, because I've made them before and it's been a long time. So fast forward over about that month or so to, I think it was yesterday or the day before. Anyway, I was on Facebook because we're in pretty much kind of lockdown because of the coronavirus and everything. So I noticed on one of the forums, the Ludwig forums, a guy was looking for a stand, and he's found them online. They're real expensive, all that. And so what I thought is, I've made these before. I thought I would kind of go over how I make them, because they're not really that difficult to make if you have just some basic tools. Even I mean, I have a lot of fancier stuff here in my shop, but with some basic tools and things like that, and some basic knowledge, you can knock one of these out. So this was the I believe memory serves me right, this was the 70s 80s Atlas style. And then I happened to go through the boneyard and I found one of the even older single style arms, and I went through the drawer also, and I found all three of the different types of slides that I have in my boneyard. So these are all the different slides that operate on this kind of mount. And so what I'm going to manufacture is an exact copy basically of this, with the support beam and the rest where the shell of the tom rests on the rubber puck. So I'll kind of go over some of the stuff I have. So that's what we're trying to copy. So what I got laid out here is a few different options. I started my first one, I literally took, this is 1/8 inch thick, 1 inch wide metal strapping. You can get it anywhere, Home Depot, wherever, okay? So you can take this and you can bend it into shape relatively easy on a vise, okay? The dimensions for this Ludwig, you don't need much. The dimensions is 2 inches by 1 inch by 2 inches. Okay, so this gap in here, taking away the thickness, is right at about 3/4 to 7/8. Okay, so you can bend it up like that. What I found is the easiest way is to actually get a piece of rectangular tubing in the size you need. This is a piece I had laying around. I cut a 1 inch thick piece off. And you have your general shape without having to do a lot of bending. What I'll end up doing is, I've already laid this all out, is I've laid out my curve on both sides. I'll actually cut this, grind the arch. I've already set my hole to be drilled here so that I can put this pin in, and I'll get to that pin in a second. So I have that set and center punched, and then I have the bottom center punched and ready to go. So on the one, and before I go too far, this is a little bit thinner wall. This is This is not an 1/8 inch wall like this is. This is, I believe this one here was like a 1/16 on the wall thickness. Anyway, I'm going to actually make it a little bit bigger. This is the piece I actually made a while back. It's a little wider, which doesn't really matter much. It's just getting your toms a little bit more separated. This is 1.5 inches versus 1 inch. And so it just gives you a little bit more to work with. So this is what I've made other ones from prior to my first one that I bent up with this. So this is what we're going to go with. And again, it's all set up to be cut. It's center punched on the bottom and the top. And so what this is going to do essentially is this is going to get mounted on top of the shaft here, okay, for the stand. So I went through the boneyard again, and the mount used to be really short. One version of it used to be really short, and you would have maybe half the length of this. And like I said, I just got my boneyard parts that are all, and it would be real short, and this knuckle would be approximately right there, and you could get a little bit of angle to your toms. So my buddy up in Idaho, he's going to put these on his drum set. And of course, coming up with these parts and stuff are hard. So what I'm coming up with it for him as a solution is it'll be a long shaft, just like this one, and he'll have options. He can either put it in an original base, Ludwig base, and use it straight and flat like a concert tom, if he chooses. Or the other way I'm going to come up with this is they have multiple tom mounts, which he has a bunch of these, he said. And what we're going to do is it'll go on his cymbal stand that's off to his side, and he'll be able to angle it how he wants with the other accessory mount here. So we'll be able to put it in, and this will be on the cymbal stand, and he'll be able to angle his toms wherever he wants them. And he has a set of 3. We're going to make him a rack for a set of 3. I'm going to modify one of these for a set of 3. But what I'm showing you here is the basic 2. All right. So I showed you the pieces that I'm going to be using of rectangular tubing. Again, this is 1.5 inches, and this is by 3. And I'm just cutting off what I need. Again, this is only 2 inches tall. My radius, I just used a 3/4 inch socket to get my radius and mark my radius. And it matches. That's all I did was take it and match everything up. 3/4 inch socket. I used my center punch, my spring center punch, to get all my punches in place. I'll be using a 3/8 through for the bottom, and I'll be using a 1/4 inch through for here. That will be countersunk, and I'll show you that piece here in a second. So here's that. Okay, so how we get all this going. So let's start with the rod, okay, or this shaft. I want to give him a nice long piece. I didn't have a whole bunch of long pieces, but just kind of a tip thing to just kind of lay it out there. What I do is, these are microphone stand booms, or the tops of microphone stands. I find them cheap at the flea market. You know, you can usually get a rusty old stand for $5 or less, microphone stand or less at a yard sale or flea market or whatever, thrift store. And I just part them out. This happens to be the exact same size as all your standard stands. everything works great. So what I'll end up doing is I'll end up chopping the threads off here, chopping the counterweight off here, and use all of this. So this is going to have to get mounted on the end. And how we do that is with a coupling nut. So this is a 3/8 coupling nut, any hardware store. And I take that coupling nut and I just thread it on to one of my long bolts I have in my bolt storage. So I have a handle and I just belt sand it. Now if you have a lathe, go ahead and stick it in the lathe and turn it down. My lathe is at school, so I used the belt sander today. And you just belt sand it until it fits inside the tube. So that's one step there. This will be the through nut that will actually go through the 3/8 inch hole that I drill in the bottom. This will be in here. And then once I get this turned down, and I don't have it turned down to size yet, this will slide in there. And just like any standard Ludwig, they used a roll pin, a 3/32 roll pin. So I have a 3/32 roll pin. And once I get this turned down and fitting in there, I'll drill the hole and I'll put the roll pin in and it'll be locked in. I'll put the roll pin towards the bottom so I have all of this to thread in. So I'll pause here and I'll do a few drilling and cutting items and we'll go through the process. Oh, one other thing that I forgot is laying here. This is another coupling nut, quarter 20, and countersunk Allen head, and these are what will go through and be countersunk flush, so it'll still be able to slide. And we will have the coupling nut in the middle for support. So we'll get some things drilled and machined, and we'll show you those items, and we'll go into those steps. Okay, we'll be right back.